مرحبا بكم زملائي أصدقائي طلبتي في قناتكم للمعرفيات.
I want to tell you a little about how I started working on conceptual metaphor. This is a true story. In 1978, I was teaching an undergraduate seminar with 5 students. At the time, I was interested in what it was called an art form in America called performance art, and I was giving an undergraduate seminar in performance art and linguistics. And in there, we went through various topics, reading papers on those topics. And on the day that we were to read a paper on metaphor, it was a very cold, rainy day. We all sat around a little table. There were 5 students. And one woman in the class came in a little bit late, and it was raining, so she was all wet, and she was crying. Okay? And we tried not to notice that she was crying, which was difficult because she was sitting at the table right here, okay? Right there. And so we went on with the class, and I said, well, okay, on page so-and-so, Professor so-and-so claims the following. What do you think of this? We go look around the room. We all look at her, and she says, I can't do this today. I've got a metaphor problem with my boyfriend. And she looks around and she says, maybe you can help. Well, this was Berkeley in 1970s. We said, of course. We formed what was called a little group for group therapy. And we said, okay, tell us your problem. She said, well, on the way to class, I was walking with my boyfriend, and he said something that upset me. He said that our relationship had hit a dead-end street. A dead-end street. Right? And he said, I don't really understand this very well. Maybe you can help me understand it. So we said, look, if it's hit a dead-end street, you can't keep going the way you've been going. You may have to turn back. And then we realized that English had a lot of expressions in which love was seen as a kind of journey. So, for example, you could say of a love relationship, it's been a long, bumpy road. You could say things like, we're going in different directions. We're at a crossroads in the relationship. You could say the marriage is on the rocks. It's off the track. We're spinning our wheels. And even an airplane image, we may have to bail out. Take a parachute. Now, and by the way, being a linguistics professor, I dutifully wrote down all of these expressions. We made a list. And I said, gee, this is an interesting list, Is there a generalization about this list? That's the question a linguist would ask. What is the generalization here? And we looked at this list and we said, well, in every case, love is seen as a journey. The lovers are the travelers. Okay? Well, what is the love relationship? The love relationship is the vehicle. Sometimes it's a car, sometimes a boat when you're on the rocks, a train when you're off the track, a plane when you're bailing out, but some kind of vehicle. Okay? So love relationship is a vehicle. Write down love relationship, vehicle. What about this journey? Where are you going? Well, you have common life goals, and the common life goals are the destinations that you're trying to reach in this journey. Common destinations. So, common life goals, destinations. Okay? And what about why do you keep hitting dead-end streets and spinning your wheels? Well, These are difficulties in a journey. So it turns out that difficulties in the love relationship are difficulties in the journey. That is, they're impediments to travel. They're things that keep you from getting to where you want to go. So you're spinning your wheels, you go on the rocks, etc. Okay, so we write these down, and they're completely systematic. They look like almost a mathematical mapping. Okay, and you say, gee, that's very interesting. We have this generalization that looks like a mathematical mapping about these different expressions. And the woman says, I don't care about your generalization. My boyfriend is breaking up with me. She said, he's thinking in terms of this metaphor. So I said, actually, that's interesting. How can you think in terms of a metaphor? I mean, the classical theory of metaphor doesn't talk about thinking in terms of a metaphor. How does this work? So we looked at a case. We said, okay, let's suppose you take something like, we're spinning our wheels in this relationship. What do we know about spinning the wheels? Well, there's an image. The image is that there's a car, and the wheels are turning. Is the car moving? The car is not moving. It's stuck. It's stuck in America. The term spinning your wheels applies to a case where the car is not moving. It's stuck in ice or sand or snow or something like that. The wheels are digging in, and the more you turn them, the more they dig in. Okay? So in this case, what you have is the vehicle is not moving. You put a lot of energy into getting it moving. You're trying to rock the car, move it, or get the wheels going, and so on. And you feel frustrated. Okay? Now, what about in a love relationship? When you say we're spinning our wheels in this relationship, it means the relationship is not going anywhere. No progress toward common life goals. Secondly, it means you're putting a lot of energy. You want it to go somewhere. You're putting energy into it, and you feel frustrated. That is, the reasoning that you do about travel is being mapped onto the reasoning you do about love via this mathematical mapping that covers our travel. The vehicle is the relationship, and so on. So the idea here is that to understand the use of dead-end street, which means that you can't keep going the way you've been going. You have to do something else, either give up the relationship or turn and go some other direction. Okay? You have to do something else. That is the inference. There's an inference. It's said for a reason. It's said for that reason. Now, these, by the way, she did not make up with her boyfriend. But she found somebody else later on. She got a job, she got her PhD, she got married to a very nice man, and she's fine. In fact, she's a chairman of a department.
مرحبا بكم زملائي أصدقائي طلبتي في قناتكم للمعرفيات.